This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on sportstalksc.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Talk Wednesday night edition. Sports Talk Media Network. Hey, it's good to have you with us wherever you are dialed in across the state. Phil Kornblut and Josh Cohen here in Columbia. Chris Bergen will be joining us shortly from the Berge Palace over in Sardis. Phone number 888-898-2525. Plenty to talk about tonight with the search at South Carolina for a new baseball coach ongoing. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Clemson and Florida coming up this weekend. Super Regional, one of the 8 Super Regionals. The winner of the Super Regionals advancing to the College Baseball World Series next week in Omaha. Oh, so close if you are the Clemson Tigers. Been a long drought since 2010 that they were in Omaha. And, you know, they can smell it, they can taste it right now. But Florida obviously is playing some excellent baseball. And you heard Coach Bakich say last night on the program he believes Florida is one of the best teams in the country. Don't be fooled by the record. They can hit, and they got big arms, got strong arms. So, and we'll see what Clemson can do this weekend at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. As far as South Carolina and the baseball search, replacing Mark Kingston, Ray Tanner getting after it as far as continuing the search today. Nobody was hired today. And John Whittle from the Big Spur, who we respect highly for his inside knowledge, he said last night on their stream, on their podcast on the internet, I guess you would say, that from his information, it appeared that Cliff Goddard from East Carolina was the number one guy on the list for Tanner that he would like to go and pursue. But also there was the likelihood that Goddard would not be interested in leaving East Carolina. I'm sorry, Godwin. Yep. Thank you. Well, whose voice was that? Was that the voice of God?
No. I'm not the former public address announcer at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, this is true. Chris Bergen jumping in. Thank you for the correction. Cliff Godwin, longtime coach at East Carolina, been very successful there as far as winning league championships and getting to the NCAA tournaments, but not advancing. Been to some supers, never has been to the CWS. I think they have the record for the team that's made the tournament the most without advancing to the College World Series, something like that. So, and then again, there's the assortment of other coaches along those lines who've done a good job where they are that he might be interested in. But I still think that this thing might eventually work its way back around to Monty Lee, and who's the interim head coach. And there's a lot of reasons why I think that might happen and why I think that would be a good move for South Carolina, especially if Monty is hired and brings back some of the folks who were around during the heyday under Tanner. First of all, if you're Tanner and you're surveying the landscape of college coaches and who might be available, et cetera, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people you can talk to, and perhaps you can throw a better deal at them than what they've already got, and you can entice them to come to South Carolina. They'd be outside the Gamecock family, of course, and I know they've done that before. They went inside with Chad Holbrook when Tanner retired from coaching. They went outside with Mark Kingston. You go back and look at the Holbrook 5 years, and you got to think, did they pull the chair out from under him too soon? He had 3 40-win seasons in his 5 years as the head coach at South Carolina. I mean, that's not bad. He went to a super regional. He went to regionals during his time as the head coach. But I think just following Tanner and not being able to get to Omaha,
exactly,
and the fans' angst about that was, and I don't know if maybe Tanner was trying to do Holbrook a favor by getting him out of that particular fire, even though it hurts. It hurts Holbrook. It hurts his ego. It hurts when you get fired like that. But maybe he was thinking he was doing him a favor. So, but getting back to Monty Lee, Monty has been a head coach for 14 seasons at both the College of Charleston and at Clemson, 13 full seasons. And he took both of them to 4 regionals. The mark against him from that standpoint would be he got to 1 super regional with the College of Charleston. Otherwise, he never got any farther than that with the teams. Still, he's got a 65% winning percentage, which is doggone good. He's won over 500 games in his coaching career. So I also think this, Tanner was interested in Lee, I think, before he hired Kingston. Remember, there was a lot of scuttlebutt. Would they talk? Would there be some activity there? But Monty had just gotten to Clemson. I think he'd been there like a year when the South Carolina job opened up. And so he wasn't ready to leave Clemson. I don't think he was ready to walk out on folks there that gave him a chance to step up to a big-time level from where he was at the College of Charleston. But, if you were interested in him then, and then if you were interested enough in, I'm sure Ray Tanner had something to do with Mark Kingston hiring Monty Lee 2 seasons ago before the 23 season to bring him back to South Carolina and make him the associate head coach. Obviously, you've got great interest in him, and you kind of helped raise him in baseball circles as you were Ray Tanner, the head coach, and Monty Lee worked under you. I believe he began in 2006 with the Gamecocks. So, you've got some skin in that game with him as an AD. So why would you not be interested in him again this time around? And then you go to who could he bring in as assistant coaches? And again, I don't know what he would do. Personally, I think if he would hire Jim Toman and hire Landon Powell, maybe keep the pitching coach that you have now, since he's brand new. But that would be a very good start right there. And I think that, with that group, I think that you would find a whole new level of new energy and new giving to the USC baseball program. These are known commodities. You bring somebody from the outside who has a good record where they are and a good reputation, that's all well and good. But you got to kind of break them in as one of your own. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. With Mark Kingston, the record and everything was pretty good, but it never worked in the community with him, apparently. The fans just never really warmed up to him. I think that they would definitely easily warm up to Monty Lee. They already have. And with the familiar faces on the coaching staff, I think that would just be a bonus. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think that there's a possibility that could happen at some point as this all plays out. So we'll see.
I think it already has.
What happens? Do you think what has already happened?
Monty Lee, I think, has been given the assurance and the quiet assurance. He may already be the head coach at South Carolina. We just don't know this. And the reason I say that, I'm watching stuff from the outside, haven't seen anybody from USC of merit, not to knock the kids that have already gotten in the portal, but let's face it, the guys that jumped in before the tournament started, they weren't contributors. But I have not seen anybody of merit jump into the transfer portal, which normally automatically happens the day a coach is fired. You see 5 or 6 kids, I'm going to go do something else before they even give a chance to whomever is the next coach. Plus, here in the, earlier today, they got a commitment from one of the top players in the state down along the Grand Strand. Mm-hmm. They've gotten reassurance that, hey, the number 1 player in the state from Summerville wants Monty Lee as the head coach. Just looking at some of the movement into the program and lack of movement out, I think Monty Lee has already been told he's going to be the head coach.
Well,
and he's using that to recruit.
Well, everything you're saying that has happened on the outside is true. They have not had people jumping into the portal, John, and they did pick up a commitment from a big right-hander who had been committed to Vanderbilt, whose father, by the way, played at NC State and was recruited there by Jim Toman. So, I mean, there's all kind of connections in the small world of baseball. And
I mean, you just don't get top-flight recruits in any sport to commit to a school right now without knowing who the head coach is. I mean, I just find that very odd that would happen without them getting an idea. Hey, I'm going to be the head coach. We haven't made the announcement yet. I just looking at things from the outside, and the more you've talked it up, and it makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah,
I think Cliff Godwin would be a good hire for South Carolina. I think Chris Pollard from Duke, if they could get him, would be a good hire for South Carolina, but they're not Gamecock people. Just the same thing that Mark Kingston, you laid that out perfectly. I heard somebody on radio a couple of days ago talking about the difference between Mark Kingston and Shane Beamer. Beamer treats this as his life. I mean, he is all in at Gamecock, and it's not just football. He's at everything. How many basketball games did you see Mark Kingston in attendance this past year, the year before? Football games. I'm sure he was there. He's just not visible. But Shane Beamer's at everything, and I'm just not sure that was who Mark Kingston was. Not good, not bad, just different. And I just don't think, as you pointed out, I just don't think it worked from a personality standpoint. And then you trump in the fact he hadn't gotten him to Omaha, and it was going to be a tough sell for Ray Tanner to bring him back.
I'd like for whoever they hire to be a guy who's not tied to analytics, to where every decision is based on numbers. I think your best baseball coaches, I mean, yeah, you got to have some knowledge. You got to do your scouting. You got to know that, okay, we got to play this guy. We got to shade this guy this way. We got to shift on this guy. Yeah, we got to bring in this left-hander to face this right-hander because this right-hander ordinarily doesn't hit left-handers well. And I understand that. I get that. You also got to make decisions based on your gut instinct as a coach. I think maybe no other sport relies on the experience of playing it and having a gut instinct than baseball. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Because you don't go with your guts, basketball-wise, deciding whether or not you should play man-to-man against a really good motion team or should you play a zone against a team that can't shoot from the outside. It's pretty obvious. Football, I think, is the same thing. You look and you study game plans. You understand what will work against a certain defense. But, no, I think baseball has been overwhelmed by analytics to the point that I think you get, what is that old saying, paralysis by analysis. By analysis. I mean, sometimes you can't make a decision because you've got so many numbers in front of you that you can't figure out what you need to do.
Exactly. So, and look, but I understand too that probably every coach who's still of the younger variety has come up through the world of analytics, and I wouldn't be surprised if whoever Tanner hires relies on it to a certain degree. I just sure hope that they don't, base everything strictly on what they have in their notebook and have some kind of feel for what's happening out there in the game. But, yeah, the Monty Lee situation, from where we sit, where I sit, where you sit, and you made a good point too. I mean, I think there's some real possibility to that happening, and I think South Carolina would be very wise to make that move, and I would think Monty would be wise to hire, if he can. Well, I know he can get Jim Toman. Jim Toman, he's in Florida, as he told us
on Monday.
Yeah, he would get on his knees and crawl back here from Florida. He was in Boca Raton, and he's heading over. Where did he tell me he was heading? He's heading. His son is playing down there in the A League, and he's going. I think it's not Vero Beach; it's somewhere else in Florida. But anyway,
it was somewhere that was a 9-hour drive from Columbia for normal people. He said he could make it in 6.
He's definitely not normal. Definitely not normal. So that would be a very – because, listen, yeah, Jim Toman is a friend of the show. We've known him forever. But the guy – and I know he's going to have to answer the question about his DUI when he was at Middle Tennessee State. And he's a stand-up guy, and he will answer, and he will tell you that he made a mistake. It was a one-time thing. I don't think somebody should be branded for life.
Agreed.
But DUIing, I agree, that's terrible. That's a very dangerous thing to do. Fortunately, nobody else was involved in the incident. And he shouldn't be branded for life for that one simple mistake. People should not hold that against him as far as his career advancement. And he took it upon himself to resign at Middle Tennessee State to spare them having to deal with whatever situation he was going to be facing legally. So, he went ahead and took it on himself to step down. I don't think he was pushed out or fired. So he would answer that. He would be a stand-up guy, and I'm sure, if all this were to happen and he was to be hired and have a press conference, those questions would come the first day, and he would answer them, and then you move on. You put it behind you, and you move on. But I think that, Monty Lee is younger than Jim Toman, and they weren't together that long at South Carolina, so I can't speak for Monty Lee. If he becomes the coach, would Jim Toman be somebody that he would want to hire? Would Ray Tanner say, hey, I think this would be a good move? Would he suggest it? Of course, as a head coach, you got to surround yourself with people that you're comfortable with, that you know and that you like. And
and I think if Ray Tanner is comfortable enough with Monty Lee, keeping him on, promoting him to head coach, you've got to then turn to Monty and say, all right, go hire whoever you feel like will help you, and leave it at that. I just don't think athletic directors need to get into the hiring of assistant coaches.
Yeah,
you've hired a head coach to run that department for a reason. Let him run that department.
But you can suggest.
No doubt.
You can suggest and say, hey, I kind of feel like this might be a good idea. Just take a look at it. And then, of course, look, we're making career decisions for people out there, okay? When we talk about Landon Powell, well, Landon might not want to leave North Greenville as a head coach. He might love what he's doing up there as a head coach. I know he loves Ray Tanner and he loves the University of South Carolina and the baseball program. But, financially, I don't know what the move would be like for him compared to what he's making there to come to South Carolina and be an assistant coach, if that were to happen. But, again, that'd be another avenue that I would pursue.
Absolutely.
I would say,
at least make the call.
Sum it up, kind of put the band back together again if you're Ray Tanner. Because, look, Ray Tanner is going to be done as an AD at South Carolina in maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 more years maybe. I know he got an extension not too long ago, but he's not long for the job because he's sort of he's getting up there, okay? He's not long for the job. What better way, though, when it comes to your pet team, which has to be his baseball program, to leave it in the hands of people that you brought up in the baseball world. You have your fingerprints all over Monty Lee and Jim Toman and Landon Powell, let's say, or whoever else they might bring in. Jerry Myers, who wouldn't leave Middle Tennessee, I don't think.
I don't think so.
But anyway, you see what I'm saying. What better way to leave it in those hands to go, okay, at least, I'm leaving and I know I got it in the hands of people that I worked with and I trained.
And this is probably going to be his last major hire, don't you think? Barring some just total collapse of the football program or something that Lamont Paris finds is better than South Carolina, I don't see in the next couple of years him having to make another major hire. This is probably it for him.
Depending on how long he stays.
True.
If
he's here 10 more years.
He might stay 5 or 6 more. Who knows? Look, as far as football is concerned, Shane Beamer is going to have to he's going to have to win. He's going to have to win more than 7, 8 games at some point. He's going to have to get him into a playoff at some point before people start kind of getting a little bit antsy about that situation. And, we all know the schedule ahead for this year for football is very, very difficult. But actually, I was surprised at this. I saw a ranking of the schedules for this coming season, and that schedule was ranked 17th toughest in the country.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I thought to myself, what 16 have tougher schedules? Who are they playing? The Green Bay Packers one week, the Lions the next week, and the Steelers after that. You'd have to be playing a schedule tougher than what the Gamecocks are facing. All right, let me tell you what we got coming up tonight. Dalton Reeves will join us, the Gamecock catcher,
who's got him.
Yeah, we'll get his thoughts for sure. But we're going to talk about his. He's got a camp coming up, and we're going to talk about his camp that he's got coming up. We're going to talk about the season, and talk about what's happening with the transition there at coaching with South Carolina. So that'll be coming up, and then at 7:35, it's a new month. It's the first Wednesday. It's SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources here on Sports Talk with Major Billy Downer. And tonight, he's got a specific agenda for tonight that he wants to cover. And that is going to be, I'll tell you in just a second, we're going to talk about boating, life jackets, and a new system of numbering. So, of course, everybody who's got a boat has got life jackets and a new system of numbering. And, of course, it's the time of the year when boating is really, really big in the state of South Carolina, so you want to stay tuned for that. If you have questions specific to Major Downer, and we'll take those during that segment, 7:35 on. So that is what we've got for you. The phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Go ahead and hit your phone calls as we go to it's Gamecock Larry on line 1. Hello, Gamecock Larry. How are you, sir?
Mr. Field, you can suggest. Now let old Gamecock Larry suggest. Coach Ray Tanner, I suggest. You get on the speaker, get on the phone, get on the TV, get everywhere, and say, Gamecock Nation, your new coach at South Carolina Gamecocks is Monty Lee. Hire him, let him hire what he wants. But I'm telling you, I got so sick. Well, I'm getting sick and tired of hearing some of these other radio stations, and you know who I listen to? The only other one talk about Gamecock history. They don't know what Gamecock history is. The only thing they know is what somebody told them or what somebody read. Hire a man, $1.8 million. Hire him. He may be a failure. Well, when I get on there, I say hire Monty Lee, $400,000. He may be a failure. I said the same thing they said about that $1.8 million man. And they get mad at me and just talk like I don't know what I'm talking about. Any businessman, you take $400,000 over $1.8 million in a failure. Yes, sir. I hire. Okay. All right. I done said all I'm going to say. You know who I want. You know who I'm behind. Now, I'm going to tell you who is going to be the next coach. Monty Lee. And he'll hire who he wants to. He might bring Jim Tolman. He might bring that pitching coach, Jerry Myers. He might bring Landon Powell. He might even bring up old Joe Biden or somebody like that. But he going to be,
who?
And oh yeah, one thing I got to say. Let me say this one thing.
Who was that last one?
Joe Biden. But let me tell you what.
What position what does he coach?
He don't know. But let me tell you what. If Ray Tanner knows deep down he fired Holbrook 1 year too early, I guarantee you Holbrook would have went to Arkansas in the Super Regionals, and he might have been on to the College World Series instead of having this Kingston there. And I guarantee you we would have had a better record with Holbrook this last 6 years than this joker, this Coach Kingston. He come in here and he just changed analytics. I got so sick and tired of hearing analytics. I'm glad you're gone, and take that Pat, what's that coach's name? Pitching coach. Take him along with you. Take him with you, put him in the back of the truck, and haul him all out of here, too. We don't need him as a pitching coach. We don't need you as a head coach. We need Monty Lee and who he gets. That's all I got to say. I know I made a lot of you mad, but I don't care. I love all y'all. Go Gamecocks. Hire Monty Lee. Go Gamecocks.
All right. Matt Williams is the pitching coach. People like Matt Williams still, and I don't think people would be bothered if he's retained as the pitching coach.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I don't think he had a lot to work with, unfortunately.
Maybe true. All right, we'll be back. Continue with your calls after the break. Okay, we continue Sports Talk, Wednesday night edition. Phil Kornblut, Chris Bergen, and Josh Cohen, 888-898-2525. Back to your phone calls in just a second. Summertime, though the calendar says it's still spring, it feels like summer. Had a nice thunderstorm blow through Columbia. I love a good summertime thunderstorm. You know why I love a good summertime thunderstorm, Chris?
I don't.
It's good for napping purposes.
There's no doubt.
I mean, nothing.
And if you guys wouldn't mind sending some of that rain east, we could certainly use some in the PD. Good grief.
Other than listening to Teddy Hefter in the morning, I can't think of a better way of falling asleep. Hello. I'll get a phone call from Teddy on that. Then have a nice thunderstorm blow through. But, you know, my point in all this is it is summertime, and it's time for you to make your beach plans. If you haven't done so already, make sure you call Jimmy Smith. He brings the thunder and the lightning in the real estate business down along the beach. 843-237-4246. Your perfect beach getaway is right there at your fingertips. You can also, if you're a keyboard warrior, you can go online to Paulie'sVacationRentals.com. You can check out the properties and find what you're looking for, then get with Jimmy and the staff, and they'll help you figure out where you want to stay, when you want to stay, and how long you want to stay. 843-237-4246. That's Jimmy Smith at James Smith Real Estate. All right, back to your phone calls at 888-898-2525. We got a lot of recruiting coming up for you as well. Oh, I am such a dummy. I am a stupid, as Roberto DiVincenzo once said. Clemson got a commitment this afternoon. I meant to mention this off the top, but we got off on the baseball. Clemson got a commitment from a safety in the state of Florida, and he was in for an official visit that he just wrapped up today. He was one of those that came in after the main weekend. It's Grayson Littleton, 6 feet 180 out of Tampa. He's the first corner to commit to Clemson in the class and the 12th commitment overall. More on him coming up in recruiting. We'll also update what's going on with the center target for South Carolina in this class and several notes as well. Another Clemson target could fall their way tomorrow as a big offensive lineman is set to make his commitment announcement tomorrow. All that coming up in recruiting. At 7:05, Dalton Reeves wrapped up his career as a catcher with the Gamecocks with that loss in Raleigh to James Madison on Sunday. He's got a camp coming up. We're going to talk with him about that and also about what's going on with his former program. He's actually got two former programs because he was once a Blue Hose at Presbyterian.
And he and his brother may be the unique setup in the country that both of them are, I guess, leaving programs because they're both seniors who also fired their head coach after the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because his brother plays at the Citadel.
Yeah. Our poll question of the week, by the way, is who would you like Ray Tanner to hire as the next coach? And we've had 705 votes in on this poll question. So keep the votes a-coming. 51.1% want a head coach from a D1 power. 24.7% want Monty Lee. 17.3% Landon Powell. And 7% want a rising, up-and-coming assistant coach. Still got time to vote. Our poll question is available on our X at SportsTalk SC and also on our website at SportsTalkSC.com. When you say that, when you say it's available on our X, it sounds like you lost property in a divorce settlement. You know, I had it, but now my ex has got it. It's on my X. I don't have an X.
Elon would have just left that alone.
Really?
Twitter was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. That name was fine.
Well, he wanted to make it his own. You know.
Sure, I get that.
Just want to make it his own. Let's go back to the phones. 888-898-2525 is the number. Josh in Florence. Josh in Florence. Hello, Josh in Florence. How are you?
Doing good. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. Thank you.
I got a question about the situation in South Carolina again, and I'm a Clemson guy, but I just wondered, talking about Monty Lee and how he possibly could do well at South Carolina. Do you guys think he got long enough at Clemson? And obviously, I guess Eric Bakich is doing a great job, but did he get long enough at Clemson? And can he coach the Gamecocks the same way he coached Clemson?
What way do you think he coached Clemson when you say that? What do you mean by that?
I think he relied, and just talking to other Clemson fans, I'm not a baseball expert. I love the sport, but I think he relied a lot on the long ball and big, strong hitters. I mean, and you kind of live and die by that. I thought he did a good job at Clemson. I think had he stayed a year or two, maybe he could have. Who knows where it would have been? I didn't think he was doing a terrible job. And I kind of want to see what y'all thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, he did a good job. He won a championship in his first year. Remember, they won the ACC tournament championship his very first year. So got things off to a great start. They had the chance to host 4 consecutive regionals. The problem was they couldn't advance for whatever reason. They couldn't advance any deeper in the tournament than that. So that was an issue. And then he had 2 losing seasons. I'm sorry. He missed the tournament his last 2 seasons, and he had a losing season in his next to last season, which was the first time Clemson had a losing season in a long, long time. To their credit, they bounced back in his last year, and they won, 34, 35 games, but they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So 2 years in a row without making the tournament. And it's Graham Neff who made the move. I think we talked about this last night.
Yes.
It was Graham Neff, who was relatively new as the AD at that time. I guess that was maybe his first big move as the AD. Decided to make a change. And, it's worked out for Clemson. And what did they do? What did they do that worked out for them? They hired a family member. They hired Eric Bakich, somebody who had been at Clemson under Jack Leggett. He brought Jack Leggett back into the fold as well, working in a capacity. And, I mean, it's worked so far. Back-to-back regional hosts, now a super regional host, a chance to get to Omaha with 2 more wins that will be hard to come by, but at least they've got the chance. So they looked inward, somebody familiar with the setting there, and a guy who had already, people started paying attention to Eric Bakich when he started doing some things at Maryland. I mean, he did some things at Maryland at a baseball program that's a wasteland, or was a wasteland when he was there. Then he goes to Michigan, and he takes them to the World Series. I think they won 55 games or something, some crazy number. So he proved himself. And then, Clemson hired him, and it's been good for them the first 2 years with him. So yeah, what kind of baseball would he coach at South Carolina? I think Monty likes the long ball. When they were at the College of Charleston, I believe they were known for pounding the baseball, were they not? I think they hit a bunch of home runs. At Clemson, he had some big-time home run hitters. Seth Beer comes to mind for one, and others. So he would probably use that same style at South Carolina, which they're kind of built for right now. I mean, the teams he was with the last 2 seasons were built around their power. Long answer to your question. Did it answer it?
Oh, yeah. I was just wondering. It's very interesting. I mean, I have nothing but goodwill towards the guy. I hope he does well. It's just it's interesting going from one program in the state to another major program in the state. We'll see how it works.
Yep, that's strange as well. Thank you very much. We appreciate the phone call.
Phil, if Monty had been able to bust through in 2018 with that team, he almost won 50 games that year, won the Atlantic Division of the ACC. They got bounced out in their own regional to Vanderbilt. That kept being brought up this past week with Vanderbilt back at Clemson. But had he been able to bust through and get to a super that year, who knows what his career may look like. He may still be the head coach at Clemson because that was by far, I think, probably his best team there.
You're right.
Just couldn't get over the hump.
History could have been changed, But you go back and you look at these things. Had this happened? Had that happened?
Oh yeah.
I mean, what if South Carolina had won that 3rd game at Arkansas in Mark Kingston's first year and gone to Omaha?
Or if they don't get hurt last year. If they don't have all the rash of injuries they had, especially up the middle last year. I mean, that team was good enough to go to Omaha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, you can look back at a lot of situations like that and say, what if? Mm-hmm. But you can't. I mean, the reality was that they did have back-to-back losing seasons. I mean, not losing seasons, but non-tournament seasons. I mean, I didn't think it was the right move at that time to fire Monty Lee. I think you let a guy fix the problems. But, was he liked by the Clemson fan base? I think he was. I mean, Monty is such a likable guy. I don't know how you cannot you can get mad at a coach, okay, for a decision he makes and losing games, but you cannot not like Monty Lee. If you've ever talked to him, if you've ever had a conversation with him, I mean, my God, he grew up in Lugoff, of all places, okay? He's just a local South Carolina country boy. And he went to did he play or coach? Well, he played at the College of Charleston, of course, and had a little taste of professional baseball. He tells a story about the time he was in the Cardinals organization, and I think it was his first year in their organization. He's down at spring training, and he was I'm going to butcher the story here. Who was the what's the guy's name? He just retired about a year or two ago. He was the big slugger for so many years with the Cardinals before he went to the Angels, but came back to the Cardinals. One of the all-time great Cardinals.
Pujols?
Pujols, yeah. He was in the same rookie year as Pujols with the Cardinals.
Oh, you're kidding.
No.
I've never heard this story.
Yeah, and I'm going to butcher it. But it was something about, he tells the story, he was down there with a bunch of hitters at their spring training camp, and I believe he got put in the same group with Pujols. And then, he's in the cage. He sees Pujols in the cage, and then he's like, my gosh, if this is what I'm going to be trying to compete against, I got no chance. I better go find another way to make a living. Because I think, was Monty a first baseman? They might have both been first baseman. He's like, if this guy
not winning that battle,
if this guy is here in the same organization as I am, I got no chance. So, all right, thank you for the phone call. We appreciate it. Phone number 888-898-2525. Finalists for the Golden Spikes Award announced this afternoon. Travis Bazana from Oregon State, Charlie Condon from Georgia, and Hagen Smith from Arkansas. Those are your three finalists. Chesterfield High School has named Matt Quinn as their new head football coach. So there you go. And the college football playoff has released their schedule for their playoff dates. We'll touch on that when we come back from the break.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. That's the sound of a big hit on you and your car or truck. I've been an attorney for more than 30 years, helping people who get injured in car wrecks and truck wrecks. If you have serious injuries, call Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968, or email me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. That's Corbett. I don't get paid unless I recover for you. Jim Corbett Attorney, for your best recovery from a big hit, 803-765-2968, or jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Great things don't happen all at once. Big dreams take time. And when it comes to saving for college, it's those small steps that make a difference. I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 5-9 college savings plan, is designed to be taken step by step. You can start with any amount, contributions are tax deductible, and earnings grow tax-free. So why wait? Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the SportsTalk Media Network.
Last throw, big guy.
Come on, baby. I need me a giant bear.
I got this. I am the target. Ben, throw.
Oh, well, look who won a giant bear.
That's a grizzly.
Oh, Mama's baby bear.
When you join the South Carolina Education Lottery's Players Club, you get way more than you expect. More chances, more wins, and more surprises.
Yeah, he's had all his shots. Just don't look him in the eye.
Join the Players Club at seeducationlottery.com because more happens here.
Mentioned that the college football playoff announced the schedule for the playoff games coming up this season, of which there are, of course, a whole bunch more than there were as they've gone to the expanded college football playoff schedule. So it looks like this. The playoff first round will begin on Friday, December 20th, and there'll be one game on Friday, December 20th at 8 o'clock, and then three games on Saturday the 21st, one at noon, one at 4, and one at 8. Okay? And then the quarterfinals begin on Tuesday, December 31st, also known as New Year's Eve, with the Fiesta Bowl at 7:30 on ESPN. By the way, going back to that first round, one game is on two of the games will be on either ABC, ESPN, and the other two will be on TNT.
That'll be weird.
Everything's weird.
I mean, I can't remember. I can't remember the last time TNT had college football.
Well, they're losing the
TBS
NBA.
TBS used to carry it. Yeah,
they're losing the NBA. So, in the quarterfinals, Tuesday, December 31st on ESPN. That's the Fiesta Bowl, and then on New Year's Day at 1:00, the Peach Bowl on ESPN, and then at 5, the Rose Bowl on ESPN, and then at 8:45, the Sugar Bowl on ESPN. That's the quarters. The final, the semifinals will be on. First one will be on Thursday, January 9th on ESPN. The Orange Bowl at 7:30, and the Cotton Bowl on Friday, January 10th at 7:30 on ESPN, and the national championship game January 20th in Atlanta at 7:30 on ESPN. January 20th. So now it's January. So if you expand, I mean. Now you're at 12, and if you take it to 16 or 20, you'll be playing into February.
Oh, yeah.
Before it's all said and done.
Well, look, now you're already starting 3 weeks before the NFL season does, and the NFL season ends about the same time now. The Super Bowl is usually the first Sunday in February. But, I mean, Carolina, Clemson, Georgia, all those teams, especially Georgia, if you're looking at making it all the way to the championship game, you start your first game is the last day of August, August 31st, 30th, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you may play all the way to almost the end of January. But let's make sure we take care of these student athletes because they need to be in school. The only problem I have with this, and I'm going to narrow it down, why not play the semifinals on the same day and play them on the Saturday? And I get it. You're going to come back with, well, the NFL's playing on Saturday. Well, the NFL's starting to take over this landscape of television anyway. You can't avoid them forever. So just move your two semifinals to Saturday so all the teams have the same advantage. We can all watch them. I mean, I'm going to watch them anyway, but still. And then play your national championship game, I don't know, on a Saturday like college football's supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and don't wait. I mean, there's going to be a 10-day break.
Mm-hmm.
Why a 10-day break? I mean, they play now with a 7-day break or a 6-day break in the regular season. Why you got to have a 10-day break for the national, unless it's for television purposes only, right? They want to avoid, again, you mentioned the NFL on a Saturday and Sunday.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Here's the other thing, too. Think about this. Let's just say that you're not an undefeated team. You're not a team that's going to get a bye past the first round. So let's just say, I mean, the number of games that, let's say you play for your conference you play your 12 regular season games, and then you play for your conference championship, but you lose. That's 13, but you make the playoff, and you're in the first round. So that's 14, 15, 17 games you'll play if you make it to the national championship game. 17. That's a
full regular season in the NFL.
That's right. Exactly. Until the NFL goes to 18, right? Aren't they going to 18 here pretty soon, I think?
Oh, I'm sure. And, you throw money at it, and they'll certainly figure out a way to compensate. But, yeah, I mean, it's gotten to a point, and we'll expand again. Don't think they're going to stop at 12. You know that.
All right, let's go to Andy in Columbia, our next phone call here on Sports Talk. Andy, welcome in. How are you?
I'm doing well, fellas. I hope you're doing well. To answer one of your questions from last night, Corn, I do not participate in social media, so none of those votes for Landon Powell was done by Andy.
Is that because you don't know how to operate a computer, or?
I happen to have a degree. One of my degrees happens to be in computer science.
Well, how many degrees do you happen to have?
Too many. Accounting, marketing, computer science. You want me to keep going?
No, that's enough.
Okay, I got a couple others. Network design.
That's great.
Andy, you've already proven you're smarter than us anyway, so keep on, keep it on.
What else you got? What else you got?
You know what's going to happen, what they're going to do with the NCAA they want to have a weekend that it'll be one day it'll be the women's college championship, then it'll be the men's college football championship, then it'll be the men's college basketball championship.
Carrying them out till March.
I like it.
It's heading that way.
March Madness, that'll really be the madness time. My real serious question that I was calling, where all my chips are in on this coaching thing. But I wonder if Chris can kind of give a little bit, because I think he has seen him coach and what he feels about him coaching, and he does have South Carolina ties, Skylar Meade from Troy. Haven't you been at some of his games, Chris?
Outside of, I have not seen him as a head coach at Troy, because I don't do coastal basketball.
I thought you did.
Baseball, rather.
Okay.
No, I don't do coastal baseball, so I haven't seen him at Troy. Now, I watched him when he was at South Carolina, and he's clearly done a tremendous job at Troy. He has turned them into a very, very good baseball team and an awfully good conference that very few people talk about in the Sun Belt.
Isn't it realistically? I mean, a catcher is someone you want to have as a coach, but isn't someone who's a really good pitching instructor kind of like in the O'Sullivan
Shoot
mold?
the dog.
Someone that you would like to have. She's saying hi to Finn. So, isn't that what you want in a mold almost, as someone who's a good pitching guru?
Well, yeah. I mean, you want to have the best pitching coach that you can have, somebody that can take these arms and, teach them how to pitch and know how to align a rotation and when to take a guy. I think the most critical thing, I mean, the guys, they all know how to pitch. Now, there's some guys you can work with to improve their delivery and all that. I think the most critical thing is, when do you take a guy out? I think the successful pitching coaches, they have that feeling. They know when to pull the guy, and they know who to put in to follow, and they know who's going to be effective for them in that particular situation. So,
can I make one last comment?
Yeah.
Regarding your dream coaching staff, instead of keeping Williams around, does the Citadel ex-baseball coach who has South Carolina big-time ties?
Blake Cooper? Blake Cooper, the pitching coach?
Yeah. Isn't he probably looking for a job?
Well, he is looking for a job. I mean, look, Matt Williams came to South Carolina very highly acclaimed from Liberty. So I don't know that I did read where Whittle wrote that Mike Current had been fired as the director of player personnel at whatever position he had with the program. So that was one of the assistants that was let go by Ray Tanner as well when Kingston was let go. So for whatever reason, I don't know, but that's what Whittle wrote yesterday on the Big Spur. So
So what do you point to with the pitching problem that we had this year of not being able to establish a three-man rotation on the weekends, not being able to establish a really closer, when really not having middle relief? Whose fault do you point that in? The pitching coach, or do you point that more in Kingston's direction for not having these players recruited and developed before Williams got here?
I think you got to look at both of them, and I'm not trying to kick the can down the road here. I mean, it's the head coach and the pitching coach, and you're right. That was a problem all season long. Why they couldn't get themselves settled on a rotation and a set bullpen with a closer and stick with it, I think that was a big weakness for this team this year. But somehow they overcame it and still got to a regional with a chance to win it. Be right back.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back. It's a Wednesday edition of Sports Talk. Fast first hour. A lot of good stuff. Appreciate the phone calls. Coming up, recruiting in just a few minutes. Lots to talk about there. Bottom of the hour, we go outside into Mother Nature land. SC Wild from DNR. Major Billy Downer will be with us at 7:35. Right now, though, it's a pleasure to welcome to Sports Talk somebody we watched all season long, for South Carolina baseball, and he did a great job. Not so sure much was expected, but, man, did he turn around and have a great season to help the Gamecocks get as far as they did. And now he's going to offer his services to any of you young baseball players out there looking to refine your hitting skills or your catching skills. Pleasure to welcome to the program outgoing USC catcher Dalton Reeves. Dalton, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
How'd you like that lead-in? Was that big enough for you?
Yes, sir. That was awesome. I appreciate it.
Well, maybe not as good as your walk-up music. I loved your walk-up music all season.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I try to do my best to keep him first,
There you go. Understand. Let's talk about the camp. What you got planned? Where's it going to be? How can the kids get involved?
So, right now I'm still trying to get the details together for a camp of sorts, but for now I'll be offering lessons, like you said, and I kind of have put out some things across my social medias on Instagram as well as Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. But you can go there and either message me on those platforms, or I also have my email and phone number on my posts on those platforms as well.
Is this a sign of things to come for you? Do you foresee yourself as a coach one day?
Yes, sir. If baseball doesn't work out with pro ball and any kind of opportunity I get there, I see myself, trying to make my way as a coach, either at the college level or wherever. But it's really been, having coaches invest in me, and I want to be that person for the next generation and kind of do what I can to help get those kids and the next kids behind me to achieve their dreams and do what they want to do.
So
sure.
when you talk to a young catcher, let's say, what are a couple of the basic things that a young catcher should know as they're developing at that position?
Yeah, for sure. The main thing, a big thing I was taught coming up is, as a catcher, defense is priority number one. Offense is kind of like a cherry on top, if you will. But, if you're a good receiver and you keep the ball in front of you and you have a decent throwing arm, that's kind of the basic fundamentals of catching is I want to round out the whole defensive side of being a catcher and then focus on offense kind of second priority, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you did well with both. You finished up this year hitting .294, 11 homers, 34 runs batted in. Did you surprise yourself at this level after you were at Presbyterian? You come to the SEC, you come to South Carolina, you able to swing that kind of bat and also give them the help behind the plate. Did you surprise yourself a little bit with how well you played?
A little bit, yes, sir. If I'm being honest, I knew I believed in myself that I could play at this level, and I was definitely nervous going into it for sure. But I can't say enough about the staff at Carolina really helping me make that adjustment and make some tweaks with my swing as well as really develop me as a catcher. I wouldn't be where I am now without those guys on staff. So for sure, I believed in myself, but I was definitely a little bit nervous going into it and throughout the season. But it was a lot of fun, and it was pretty cool to kind of prove to myself, I can play at this level. I can be one of these dudes,
Oh, absolutely. What was it like playing with Cole Messina this year, watching him do his thing?
Cole is awesome, man. I love that guy. He's the best catcher in America. Hands down. He showed that going in. No disrespect to the guy that won first team all conference SEC, but he was the best catcher pretty much the whole season. And he's a guy that, even though he's younger than me, I was looking up to him basically the whole season. He played in this league. He was All-American last year, and so to be able to come here and refine my skills even more as a catcher behind a guy like that, it was really special. I'm really thankful for him to, kind of take me under his wing, even though I'm the older guy, which is kind of a reverse situation. But I can't say enough about him. He's a great guy. He's a great teammate, and he's really a leader in the clubhouse. And obviously he showed that he's the best catcher in America, and it's really special to work behind him.
And when he put on that hitting show at the SEC tournament, what was it, 16 RBIs and all those home runs and everything else? What was it like being there, either in the dugout or on the field with him, whatever you're doing? What was it like, watching him and talking with him while he was putting on that show?
It was a really special thing. There's nobody more deserving, nobody that's really worked harder. To go into, the biggest stage in college baseball and have the performance he did it's just not something that happens a lot. I mean, those numbers are absolutely absurd. And so, and it was kind of contagious, as you saw, like the rest of the guys, we all started hitting, we all started pitching. I mean, it was kind of, our leader was showing us what we were capable of, and we all tried to like push ourselves to get to that level. And so, I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was probably the most fun I've had playing baseball. And so, I mean, it was a really special time, and there's nobody more deserving. I mean, he's a great guy, like I said, and he worked hard. He's worked hard to get to where he's at. And so to see him have that kind of success was really awesome. It's really a precursor to what the rest of his career is going to be. So.
Gamecock catcher Dalton Reeves with us here tonight on Sports Talk. He's offering hitting and catching lessons, which is really, really cool, sort of giving back to the community. And Dalton, you mentioned a couple of moments ago that you wanted to prove to yourself by transferring up to South Carolina that you could play at the SEC level. How much, though, taking your career in total, going from Erskine to PC now to South Carolina, was it also to prove to some other coaches around the country that maybe they missed on you? You were a better player than folks thought coming out of high school.
I mean, in some capacity, I would say yes. But, I mean, for the most part, I mean, coming out of high school, I wasn't prepared. I mean, I was very much a late bloomer, so I was still growing into my frame and growing into my ability. And I'm really thankful to Crocco at Erskine, my head coach there, and Will Kaufman. I mean, they saw the potential, and they really invested in me. And, I mean, that was my only shot coming out of high school. So, I mean, I'm really appreciative towards those guys to giving me an opportunity. I mean, without them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And then to Pollock and everybody at PC, I mean, to take a chance on me coming out of Erskine at a D2, you know, I mean, that was a really cool moment. That's where my uncle played. He actually played with Pollock, and so to be able to go there and spend 2 seasons there with Pollock, I mean, that was really special. That was really cool. I mean, P always had belief in me, even when I didn't, you know, even when I was struggling to believe in myself at times. I mean, I can't count how many times he sat in the cage with me for hours trying to figure stuff out. But, I mean, it was really special, kind of, you know, pretty unique, and it's not the conventional route. But, I mean, I wouldn't change a thing about it. I wouldn't be where I'm at without the people that I've met along the way, without the coaches, without the teammates. So it's just really cool.
Elton Pollock is one of my favorite people in baseball in the state of South Carolina. What was it like playing for him, and how many stories did he tell you about him being a two-sport star at PC before he went on to play pro ball?
Yeah, I mean, I love P. That's a guy that will probably, you know, be at my wedding in a few years. And so, I mean, I've kept up with him. I've kept up with them, and they had a lot of success this year. And there's nobody more deserving. I mean, he put a lot into that program. And, I mean, it's hard to find somebody who knows more baseball than Elton Pollock, I'll tell you. But, I mean, he has some great stories. I mean, he's very much a player's coach, but he's also kind of, you know, he's very disciplined, and he runs his program a certain way. But he knew when, you know, joke around with the guys, he'd tell us stories. We'd have a lot of laughs. I mean, that's a time in my life that I'll never forget, hanging out with him.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job there at PC. Won the Big South regular season this year, but came up short in the tournament. Visiting with Dalton Reeves, USC catcher, for a few more minutes. So, hey, things happen very quickly after you guys finished up in Raleigh on Sunday. You come home. And then Monday, Coach Kingston is fired as the head coach. What was your reaction when you heard that news? Could you see it coming as things were playing out in Raleigh? Did you have any kind of sense of something coming?
I wouldn't say I really saw it coming. I mean, I thought we had a lot of success throughout the season. I mean, obviously there was a lot of talk about it, but I mean, we didn't really let it affect us at all. I mean, King was our head coach. He was our guy. We were going to battle for him every day of the week, and it was very kind of a weird situation when we got back and we found out. And I mean, I've all my prayers out to him. I mean, he's a great guy. I love him as a coach, and I mean, he brought me to Carolina. He's one of the guys that got me here, and so I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine. He's a great coach. I mean, he'll figure it out. But I mean, prayers out to him. I love him. He's a great guy. I'll keep up with him as long as I can. And so, but I mean, just kind of how college coaching is, I guess. It's brutal, honestly. It really is. But I mean,
is it? Can you wrap your head around it? I mean, you guys went to a regional. He took you to 4 regionals. He took the program to 4 regionals in his time there. 2 supers. Can you kind of wrap your head around? Is that just not enough success, you think, in today's world, especially a place like South Carolina? I guess you understand when you're at South Carolina? Did the players kind of understand that you've got to play to a higher standard maybe?
I mean, I guess, yes, sir. I mean, I know the standard around here is, we're trying to go to Omaha. And, I mean, we had every bit of talent and development to do that. We just came up short. It's not on any one person. I mean, we didn't hit when we needed to. We didn't pitch when we needed to. We didn't field when we needed to. I mean, sometimes that's just baseball. But, I mean, I wouldn't peg that on any one person or any one coach. I mean, that's a collective effort, and we were all striving to go to Omaha, but we just came up short, man. I mean, to host the regional last year, and we went to the regional this year. They went to a super last year. I mean, I thought that we were building up. We were getting back to where we needed to be. So, I mean, it's just kind of a weird situation.
Yeah. Well, I've seen some of the players and recruits, they've come out in support of Monty Lee to be the next guy there. Do you have a feeling, you have an opinion about what you would like to see happen there? What are your thoughts on what you're hearing about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I've tweeted out that, Monty Lee has my vote. I love Monty. He was one of the biggest reasons I came to Carolina. I mean, he's a diehard Gamecock. He loves this program, and he loves the players. And, I mean, there's nobody more deserving or more fit for the position. I mean, the guys have already, voiced their opinion. Like, we're going to battle for Monty. And, I mean, he rallied us all year last year as well. I mean, he's one of the best coaches, in my opinion. I mean, he develops us like nobody else. And so, I mean, I think Monty, deserves that shot, and, I think he's going to bring a lot of success if he does get it.
Yeah. Can you kind of tell us a little bit more, like inside, if you feel comfortable saying so, about, like, how strong is it among the returning players, those who can return to South Carolina? How strong would you say the feeling is that they want Monty to be the next head coach? Can you share that with us?
Yes, sir. I won't really go into much detail just because it's kind of an interior thing. But, I mean, I know there's a lot of support for Monty. And, I mean, I know everybody returning would go to war for him. And so, I mean, I really don't think that there's anybody else more deserving than Monty Lee.
Sure. All right. So you played Clemson and you played Florida. Had better success this year against Florida than you did against Clemson. Who do you like in that super regional up there at Clemson this weekend?
I don't want to say Clemson because I don't like Clemson. But I mean, that's a really good ball club. They're hot right now too, and I know Florida's hot as well. So I mean, it's really anybody's game. But I mean, it's tough to go into Doug Kingsmore and come out with a win, especially when it's a series at that capacity. I mean, I see probably the Tigers coming out of it, but I mean, it's really anyone's game at this point. I mean, postseason baseball is absolutely insane. So
it is. It's one hop here or a bounce there. It can make all the difference in the world, as you well know. Before we let you go, and thank you for being with us once again. Great stuff. Tell everybody about your well, it's not a camp like you said. Your teaching, your skill. You want to meet individually with youngsters and work with them. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yes, I mean, I made a couple posts on Instagram. It's at JDRee32, and then on Twitter is _JDR5. And so I have a post on there with all my contact information, as well as you can feel free to send me a message on those platforms as well. And, I'm willing to work with anybody that's interested. I really just want to kind of connect with the community and give back in any kind of way that I can.
Are you basing this in Columbia, or are you willing, because this show goes around the state, are you willing to go around the state and meet with people, or are you looking to base out of Columbia?
Right now I'm basing out of Columbia. I'm going to be in Body Shop Athletics. It's over in Lexington, actually, but I'm working on some details about being able to do some virtual coaching and that kind of deal. So once I get that all collected, because I've already had people reach out to me from other parts of the state, like, can we do online kind of deal? Mm-hmm. So I'm still trying to get the details with that, and as soon as I get that hammered down, I'll put that out to my platforms as well.
Very good. Well, listen, thank you for being with us. Hopefully we've been able to help get the word out for you. Anything we can do to help spread the word of what you got going on, you let us know. Love to talk to you again somewhere down the road, so keep in touch.
Appreciate it, Dalton.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, Dalton Reeves. I admire that kid because, like he said, he came up. Nothing wrong with Erskine baseball. They have a very good baseball program, and, of course, PC as well. But, he came up from the grassroots, you could say, and worked his way up to the big time and made himself into a player with the Gamecocks, an exceptional player, a major contributor to their program. All right, we'll hit the break and give you the recruiting report on the other side. Back in just a moment. We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, it's hunting season in South Carolina this fall, and folks need to be prepared from a legal standpoint.
That's right, Phil. Everyone always needs to buy their hunting license or fishing license. Everyone always worries about losing their license. Well, now that's not a problem anymore because you can keep your license on your phone. That's right. Go Outdoors SC. It's an app. Look for it on your Apple or Android devices. You can buy your license. You can renew your boat registration, and it's all right there on your phone. Remember, Go Outdoors SC in your app store.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 6.99% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. Not a Founders member yet? Founders has the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Stop by an office or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more about Founders and see if you qualify for membership. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APR as previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1644 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the SportsTalk Media Network.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
George Bryant for Tsunami Bar Sports, our inventor, David Abernathy, has always said Tsunami Bar technology allows us to take the training to the grass. Now I know through my sport of golf that natural agility can be converted to athletic ability. And why is this, Tsunami Robbie?
Transferring the training to the grass. This may be the most undervalued characteristic of the Tsunami flexible bar technology. The Tsunami bar action loads and unloads at the concentric and eccentric transition points. This is what we call reversal forces, and the Tsunami bar is the only bar and training device that I know of that can train these reversal forces adequately at speed.
Hey, this is Phil Kornbluth. The Tsunami Bar is a terrific training device, whether you're working on your fitness or your golf game. It's convenient, it's easy to use, and you won't feel beat up afterwards. Be sure to click on the digital ad on sportstalksc.com and get 5% off any order using promo code BBB5. Don't wait, order today.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Okay, to the recruiting reports on this Wednesday night, brought to you by Seawells. Of course, the very best for you in the catering business. The folks at Seawells, they get it done 110% of the time. That's right, more than 100%. Is it possible? Is it possible to do more than 100%? If it were possible, Seawells would do it. Because
it's not, but I think Seawells does it anyway.
Yes. They know no limitations. 803-771-7385 online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. And the daily luncheon buffet continues tomorrow. We got what?
Southern fried chicken, grilled hamburger, steak, and onions. Oh. And Thanksgiving, carved turkey with cornbread dressing.
What a trio of delicious eatery items at Seawells tomorrow, 11 to 2. Make sure you check it out. All right, recruiting. Clemson got a commitment today from a player who just wrapped up an official. Cornerback Grayson Littleton, 6 feet 180, Tampa. And he had upcoming visits with Alabama, Oklahoma, and Iowa, obviously canceling them. Made his first visit to Clemson back on April 18th. That's when he was offered. In the spring, he went to Alabama, Ole Miss, Miami, and Iowa as well. Other offers included Michigan State, Florida, Kentucky, Georgia Tech, NC State, Maryland, Georgia, Auburn, Indiana, Louisville, He's the first commitment for the Tigers from their June official visits. He's the first cornerback commitment for the class and the 12th overall. Defensive end Bryce Davis, 6'4", 240 out of Greensboro, North Carolina, was at Clemson over the weekend. And suffice it to say, he had a great time. Loved the Tigers, loved the atmosphere, loved the coaches, loved being with the players. One thing about the Clemson situation, he sees an opportunity with their defensive end situation to play right away, and that's something they showed him with the depth chart. So that's certainly big with him, and he likes the coaches and what they had to say to him. So it was all good for him on his visit. He goes to Duke this coming weekend, then Georgia, and then South Carolina gets the last visit. He has set July 20th for his commitment announcement. Many had him pegged for Georgia for a while, but now certainly Clemson appears to be in the hunt, and then South Carolina is going to get their shot at him as well. Gamecocks had their top center prospect for the class, Isaac Souls of Louisville, 6'2", 292. He was in for his official over the weekend. Suffice it to say, he had a great visit, loved the coaches, loved the players, loved the facilities, sat down with academics, sat down with the coaches. They've made it clear to him that he is the guy they want at center. They told him that they had not recruited a true center in a couple of years, so they need him to come in and be the center. And they're laying that out for him, and he likes what he's been hearing from the Gamecocks. He's made several visits there along with this official visit. This weekend he goes to Kentucky, then he will visit Miami, then a midweek to Louisville, and then he wraps it up with an official June 21st at NC State. And then after that, he'll get around to making his decision. Clemson target offensive tackle Rowan Byrne, New Rochelle, New York, was at Clemson last weekend, and he's going to make his commitment announcement tomorrow at 2:30. He's narrowed his decision to Clemson, Michigan State, Penn State, Texas A&M, Stanford, and Florida State. Clemson was the only official visit he has taken. He was scheduled to visit Michigan State this coming weekend, so I guess you can draw your conclusions. USC target linebacker Zayden Walker, Ellaville, Georgia, committed to Georgia, was scheduled to visit South Carolina June 21st. His brother is a freshman corner with the Gamecocks. Safety Lagonza Hayward, Lyons, Georgia, set an official for this coming weekend to South Carolina, according to Gamecock Central. He was at Georgia last weekend, has Florida, Tennessee coming up. Clemson offered today 2026 offensive tackle Carter Scruggs, 6'6", 270, Leesburg, Virginia. 26 offensive tackle Tyler Merrill, 6'6", 315, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. USC offered 2027 defensive tackle Mark Matthews, 6'5", 260 of Fort Lauderdale. T.L. Hanna cornerback Cam Strong was offered by Michigan State. Furman has added 3 transfers to a football roster. Cornerback Mo Perkins from Midwestern State, safety Jalen Tate from Georgia State, and tight end Joshua Burrell from Florida State. I remember both Tate and Burrell from recruiting time. And baseball, 2025 right-hander Luke Rupe of North Myrtle Beach committed to South Carolina. Hope I'm saying that right. It might be Rupe, or is it Rupe? He had been committed to Vanderbilt. As I mentioned, his father played at NC State, was recruited by Jim Toman. Basketball, Clemson women's coach Sean Poppy signed Kentucky transfer guard 6'2" Jordy Griggs. She spent 1 season at UK. She played in 4 games. And we should have mentioned this earlier in the week. One-time USC target 6'11" Jamie Vincent of Oak Hill Academy in Austin, Texas, ended up committing to Texas after all of that. And we'll be back.
Now on Sports Talk, it's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to take your questions about the great outdoors in South Carolina. Give him a call at 888-898-2525. It's SC Wild from DNR on the Sports Talk Radio Network.
Okay, it is time to welcome in the Major Billy Downer to another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources here on Sports Talk. Haven't talked to the Major since prior to the Memorial Day weekend holiday, so it's great to have him back with us. And good evening, sir. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Phil?
We are doing
Pleasure to be here.
Terrific. Yes, sir. What's been going on with you since the last time we talked to you?
Well, let's see. I was a part of the Bike Week detail last week of Memorial Day. We've made it through Memorial Day, of course. Through our and again, remember, we call the time between Memorial Day and Labor Day the 100 deadliest days of summer. Unfortunately, we have already started off those days with a loss. We had a boating accident occur where some folks were being pulled on a tube, and they were not wearing PFDs, which is actually required, but they fell off of the tubes, and to make a long story short, one of them did not make it back to the boat.
Boy, where was this?
This was up in the upper part of the state.
Okay. Now, you hate to hear that story. You hope you can make it through a big holiday. How was it with the Biker Week? I know that can always be a little bit testy at times with some of the behavior. How was everything from your vantage point?
It was about typical as far as a bike week goes, and just crowd management, because you're basically just managing crowds with the rest of state law enforcement. Remember that when we talk about what our officers do, and I've reminded you over the years that our officers don't just do traditional game warden, hook and bullet stuff, enforcement every day. We're called many times to assist other state law enforcement agencies, South Carolina Highway Patrol, SLED, our state law enforcement division, as well as probation, parole, and pardon, our state partners. We work together at big events when local agencies such as Myrtle Beach need assistance in managing large crowds. And so Bike Week is something we've done since I began. My first Bike Week was in '98. And today what it looks like compared to then is totally different. And, the bikes have changed a little bit. The popular thing now is these slingshots, but still, loud music is people having a good time. And we're there not to keep people from having a good time. We're there just to make sure that safety is maintained as far as and the crowds don't get out of hand. That's really what we're there to do. And so our officers do a really good job at that. Very proud of our men and women in green, because they always rise to the top when it comes to having a cool head and just kind of sit back and just maintain. They do a really good job with that. Our officers deal with people with guns every day in the field, so our folks typically are really good about maintaining their temper, their temperament more often than not. And so we do a really good job when we're down there assisting patrol, assisting Myrtle Beach, and just maintain a presence and allowing folks to have a good time, but do it safely. Because again, there's lots of large crowds.
Yeah.
I mean, the parking lot it's hard to believe, but if you've ever been to the Bass Pro, seen the parking lot there where Hooters is.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That parking lot has no open spaces from about 8 o'clock at night to about 12 o'clock. There are no open spaces. And the lanes in between the spaces are filled with bikes and vehicles, people showing off. When I say showing off, I mean like a parade, not showing off doing something stupid, but it's become the big hangout, and literally thousands of vehicles there.
Yeah.
And thousands upon thousands of people. So it's just a lot of people there.
Yeah.
But again, made it through that. Our officers on the water did a good job. We continue to work hard at protecting our waterways during our holiday weekends, and Memorial Day was a big weekend, pretty good weather, for the most part. So people came out. A lot of boating going on. A lot of boating going on now.
Well, it's only going to get more and more as we get into the heart of June and July, and July 4th coming up. Of course, it'll be here before you know it. And I know one thing you wanted to talk about again and hit on the usage of life jackets, and also a new system of numbering you wanted to talk about related to boats. Yes.
So, it's new. I say it's new, and it is new, but it actually took place. The changes took place almost 10 years ago as far as announcing this new system. And it's just taken a long time to come up with that, to come out with that as far as, basically the labeling system. So, folks, if you're used to life jackets, you're used to looking at life jackets. When we teach Motor Ed for years, we've taught there's 5 types of life jackets. There's type 1, which is a wearable. Type 1's meant for the ocean. It's meant to self-right you, to hit your head up if you hit the water, to flip you over. There was a type 2, which was called a nearshore device. That was your typical orange life jacket that you buy from Walmart for $4 to $8, whatever, that you'll see in the bags that are stacked up 4 high and zippered up nice and tight. Your basic orange life jacket was type 2. The type 3 was what we call a recreational device. It was designed for skiing, wearing when you're doing water sports on a jet ski or similar device, or, if you're fishing, you wanted something you could wear but be able to move. Then there's the type 4, which is the throwable device. And the throwable device was the seat cushion, everybody remembers, or your ring buoy that you throw to somebody if they get in trouble. That can render immediate aid. And it has a little weight to it, so you can throw it against the wind where life jackets will blow back at you. You couldn't get it to somebody. And then there's the type 5 or specialty devices. And these were all over the map. Some of these were like your float coats, your little satchels that went around your waist, the waist belts. Those were specialty type 5s, so those had to be worn to be counted. So many types, and across the United States and Canada. The new jacket, the new life jacket numbering system is now it's a little simpler. So it changes into 2 categories now: wearable and throwable. The wearable life jackets are divided into 5 what they call buoyancy categories: 50, 70, 100, 150. Basically 4 really categories. So 50, 70, 100, and 150. So that's the level of buoyancy. So those are all new numbers. Everybody's going, what the heck does that mean? So if you see a life jacket now in Walmart, you're most likely, when you look on it, you used to look for U.S. Coast Guard approved on the inside label. It would say USCG approved, and then it would tell you a type 1, 2, 3, whatever. Now you're going to see most likely a 50, 70, 100, or 150. If you look close at the little image, it's a very big image. It's a person in the water. The 50 shows a person in the water with a life jacket on and a dock nearby it. And a handout says 50. Well, 50 is not approved for Coast Guard use in a boat. So you need to be careful there. But the 70 is what most of you are all going to see is a 70. Most all life jackets now you see in the stores are going to have 70 on it. And that 70 means it's the type buoyancy. And it's going to match up with the old type 2 and type 3. On that 70, along with it, you'll see either a indicator that says turns most, or it will say no turn. What that means is, if it says turns most, it would be a type life jacket that if you hit the water, it would self-right you if you were unconscious. A 70 with a symbol that says no turn on it is going to be one that is, again, it's acceptable, it's Coast Guard approved, but it will not self-right you if you are unconscious. If you're unconscious, your head may remain in the water, and that could be dangerous if you're unconscious, of course. The type 4s go away because it's just called simply a throwable device. So type 5s almost kind of go away. So when you see the 70, the 100, and 150, your 70 is what we call the near shore, like the type 2. Your 100 is considered, it's a little bit better. It's for rougher water. And then the 150 would be most often associated with your type 1 device because it's meant for offshore. So type 1, the 100 and 150 are out there. So if you see 100, 150, it's a great life jacket. It's probably going to be thicker. It's probably going to be a little bit more cumbersome because it's designed to float you better for a longer period of time. So to recap again, because that's a lot of information, hard to remember. The old type system, type 1, type 2, type 3, those are gone. you're going to see the numbers 70, 100, and 150. For most cases, you're going to see a 70, 100, or 150, and a little figure along with it. 70 is basically what you're going to see mostly, and that 70 is acceptable for Coast Guard approved, and that can be used in your boat. That would be classified as a wearable style life jacket. So most are going to be in the 70 buoyancy category. So it will also tell you things like what that life jacket could be used for. It may tell you that it's for PWC, skiing, towing. It's going to tell you if it can be used for that. So that's all on that life jacket label. But again, 70, 100, 150 are the numbers you're going to see most. So type 1 basically becomes the 150. You could see the 150 on it, or maybe 100. Near shore and basically the offshore type style. Type 2 and type 3s become 70, and that is most likely what you're going to see in a life jacket for most common use inshore on our lakes. So your inshore devices for type 2s, type 3s now become a 70 with a little person on there and a handheld. And describing that over the radio is hard, but if you look it up online, you can look at new life jacket icons, and it'll tell you all about it. And that's been going on now for a few years. They're finally coming out. You're coming out, and you'll see them now on the shelves because life jackets that we're ordering for our officers now are coming with the 70 on them, which is helpful in identifying that proper life jacket. So again, for folks going to Walmart or maybe going to West Marine, you still may see some life jackets that have type 1, type 2, type 3 on them, but most likely they're going to have this new numbering system, 70, 100, or 150. The only one to avoid is if you see one that says 50, because that is not designed for Coast. It's not approved by Coast Guard, not designed for a boat. Not even really sure why it's out there, but the 50 is one that's not approved. So 70, 100, 150 is what you're looking for. 70s near shore, basically, or a calm. 100 is going to be near shore with waves. 150 is your offshore type 1 style. So those are the ones to look for.
Let me ask you this. And what you're saying, I mean, that's a lot of data, a lot of information to know and absorb, just listening to you here on the radio. When somebody goes to a store and starts looking at these life jackets, do the people there at the store, the clerks, the salespeople, do they know this information? Can they explain one life jacket from another to a customer who might be wondering, okay, what's the usage for this? Why is this one maybe more expensive or better? Are they knowledgeable in all this information?
That's a great question. That's a fair question. But I'm going to probably tell you they're not going to understand it.
Yeah.
It's and we're starting to try to teach our officers now to look for those, because you're still going to see the type 1, type 2, type 3 in boats for years to come. People don't throw that away, but it is something that, over time, as life jackets get older, they start getting tears in them, then you're going to have you're going to have to buy new life jackets. So folks need to know what that new numbering system looks like. If you're a new boat owner and you're buying new life jackets, you're going to see only the new numbering system, and you may not know what those mean. Look for a 70. If it has 70, you're good to go. That's the easy and quick reference guide. If it says 70 in there, as far as the rating, you're good to go, and that's a great one for your boat. Now, if you're going offshore, probably want to look for a 100 or 150. That just provides more buoyancy.
Makes sense. So
now,
just
again, it's confusing. It's new, so it's just one of those things that we need to kind of, as time goes on, we're going to get more used to. But it's the new deal. Basically, it can be a little confusing at first. It's confusing for us getting used to it, but it's the newtons of flotation, and it's just and buoyancy and kilograms the jacket provides. It's like a 50 provides 5 kilograms or 11 pounds of buoyancy. That's just one of those. It's hard to describe it. That's why I avoid even saying that, because that just gets really confusing. What does that mean?
Is there a brand of life jacket that you prefer, one that is like, top notch, the safest of them all, or are they all about? I mean, if you're buying a life jacket, you want to think that all of them are good for doing what they're supposed to do.
Great question. So again, you want to make sure that you get a life jacket that has a U.S. Coast Guard approval number, and that 70 is the new approval number. So you want to make sure it's got a U.S. Coast Guard. It says U.S. Coast Guard approved inside and has at least 70 on it. Now remember, they still will come in sizes. There'll be an adult universal, then there's child sizes, youth sizes. It doesn't change the rules. Make sure you get a life jacket that fits the intended user. The buoyancy is a whole different game, but you want to make sure that the life jacket is the right size for a child. That's always the rule. Even with these new numbering systems, don't worry about that. You want to make sure it at least has 70 on it, but then make sure you get a size that is appropriate for your child or youth in the boat or people. A life jacket that fits a 300-pound man is not necessarily the best life jacket for a 90-pound female.
Yeah.
You want to get a life jacket that fits appropriately. And the best way to do that is go to the store and try them on. No doubt about it. As far as brands, there's no brand really better. Everybody's going to say they know Stearns. That's been out there forever. Mustang, those brands have been out there. People know them. But if it has a U.S. Coast Guard approval number, it's a good life jacket and it's safe to wear.
All right, let me shift. Life jackets are certainly important and useful, and, of course, need to be used appropriately at all times. What about also on the boats, of course, you have the cushions that boat owners will have in the boats, flotation cushions. Do those two come with different numbering or different strengths, and what would you advise about the use of those cushions in the case of trying to throw somebody a flotation device?
So that's a great question. We're covering that again.
That's three straight great questions.
I'm going to be positive. I'm not ever going to down you, even though I will say I've already covered that, but we're going to go over it again.
Oh, I must have missed it.
That's a Type 4 throwable device.
Oh,
those did not change.
I lost that in the translation.
That's okay though, but it's a great question in that if you wanted to hear that again, then there's probably somebody else out there that wants to know that too. So a throwable device still remains a throwable device. It just won't say Type 4 anymore. It's going to say throwable. And remember, a throwable device is required on a boat 16 feet or longer. If your boat is 16 feet or longer, you're required to have a throwable device on board to throw to someone to provide immediate aid to that person. Again, a ring buoy or the seat cushion, as you call it, with 2 straps on it. It does not have to have a rope attached to it. Been a common myth, not necessarily a bad idea. But if you can throw it better without the rope, throw it. The main thing is you have one on board that can be used to give immediate aid to someone who may need it, who falls overboard.
All right. Now let me ask you this. What do you say to the people on the boat, the captain, passengers, whatever, somebody falls overboard accidentally and they're in distress? What do you say to them about remaining calm, don't panic on the boat? I know words are cheap. You don't know how people are going to react, but what advice do you give people when they're in a situation like that?
So when someone falls overboard, a couple things to remember. Motor, neutral, cut it off. So I say that in that order because when someone falls overboard, we get a lot of prop strikes from people falling overboard a boat and people either putting the motor in reverse to back up to them, and people have been chewed up by the motor, children and adult alike. Horrible stories. Again, throwing the throwable device to give them immediate aid is important. Put the boat in neutral or cut it off. Simply just turn the motor off. When you can get back to them, face them with the boat. Don't ever back into somebody. But as you're going towards someone, people get frustrated. They get excited. You're right, Phil. They're very excited. They may gun the boat when they shouldn't. They may hit somebody, run over them with the boat, trying to get back to them. When you get close, cut the motor off so that prop's not spinning. Several people, many a person has been injured by a motor who was, quote, in neutral, and it wasn't. So just cut it off. Cut the motor off. Get them on board. Use a throwable device, throw to them immediately, give them some aid. One thing I can tell you, and this happens a lot also, when someone is in trouble and they're drowning, it is our desire inwardly, you want to jump out there quick and go help them. Throw them something first. Throw them that throwable device. That's why it's required to be on board. If you don't have life-saving training, be careful, because a drowning person will kill you to save themselves. And they don't even mean to.
Yeah.
A drowning person will.
Because they're reaching and grabbing for everything they can get, right?
That's correct. And if you don't have life-saving training, it's very hard to know what to do in that situation. But when you do life-saving, they teach you to take an object and push to them and keep that between you and that person so they have something to flail and grab onto. Otherwise, they're going to grab onto you, and they may sink you in the act of you trying to save them. It's hard to remove those 1,000 years of people, just that survivability factor. You want to survive, and all reason takes over. And someone drowning is going to do everything they can to stay afloat.
But then again,
they don't mean to.
You have the hero instinct.
That's right.
That
That's
jumps
right.
into people, right? They're like, I got to go save this person.
Absolutely. All these are normal reactions. Again, throwable device is important. Throw that to somebody where they can have some flotation. They can grab onto that. The throwable device has straps on it. The seat cushion or the ring buoy has straps on it. They can grab, hold on to it, hug it like a pillow, and then you can go to them and pull them to you. If it's got a rope on it, you can use the rope to pull it back to you, to pull them back to the boat where they can get safely on board. So a lot of things said there, but it was a good question about throwable devices. If someone falls overboard, remember, careful as you approach them with a boat, cut the motor off when you get close, because too many people have been injured by a motor that they thought was in neutral and it was still engaged. And even a prop going slow will cut through skin and bone in seconds.
Major, that is some great information. I hope people were paying close attention. Anybody with a boat who's planning to go out this weekend, that was some great information. I hope you take it to heart. If you didn't know that, hopefully you learned something. And hopefully we will avoid a tragedy on the rivers and the lakes this weekend.
Absolutely. Again, just remember, anything to take away today, if you're looking for a new life jacket, make sure it fits the intended user, and look for that 70. That's the new number to look for a properly Coast Guard approved life jacket.
Major, thank you so much. Have yourself a great weekend coming up, couple of weeks. We'll be back with you, and we'll be heading towards July 4th, so I know you'll have some great advice and insight about that upcoming weekend.
Absolutely. Hope everyone's boat's safe in the meantime.
Thank you, Major. Take care. Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources with us here on Sports Talk and SC Wild. What great stuff talking about the biker weekend that he was part of as far as helping to guard and direct and protect people down at the beach. And, of course, we salute all the law enforcement officials, DNR, Highway Patrol, police officers, sheriffs, everybody else down there trying to keep order and protect everybody. We salute all them and thank you for what you do. And thank you, Major, for some great information on the program tonight. All right, that'll do it. Tomorrow night, Mike Morgan will be with us. We'll look more at Clemson and Florida, have the latest on the Gamecock search as well. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.